The ABCs of Dynamics in Worship, as devised by me. Think of a song like an essay or a story, a message delivered through a concise structure. Verses should establish tone or context, while the chorus is the purified message. Pre-chorus can be a setup for this as well, and bridge is a development section. So how do we emphasize each section? That's where dynamics comes in. A term I use to understand the idea of dynamics is a cake. This represents a setup and a payoff, aka earning our moments. There's two aspects to this. One, we can't eat the cake without baking it first. In the context of a story, if we see two characters fighting, it doesn't mean much to us. However, if we know the context and we've seen the escalation of the brawl, then we become invested. Two, there's no point baking a cake if we don't eat it. There's no point introducing a question without an answer and presenting a setup with no conclusion. So let's take an in-depth look into some examples and explanations for different techniques used to demonstrate dynamics. This way we avoid confusion instead of simply labeling everything dynamics. This is a system I devised myself to examine three aspects of dynamics musically and lyrically. I call it the ABCs of dynamics. A for arrangement, B for build-ups, C for contrast. Remember, all of this is done with the purpose of emphasizing certain parts for maximum impact. So firstly, we have A for arrangement. Arrangement and sequence across a song. How does the story progress? What is the development of the main idea? Where does it go from where it starts? So I separate this into three categories: layers, development, and structure. Now let's take a look at my explanation and example for each of these. Layers is introducing parts to a song one by one. For example, the first verse of a song may be sung by only one vocalist.
Anoint my head with oil, my cup it overflows.
And then for the second verse, or in the chorus, more vocalists are layered over.
Anoint my head with oil, my cup it overflows.
This applies to instruments as well, perhaps starting with just the piano and later in the song the guitar and drums join in. So the next concept after layering is development. For a guitar, this could look like finger picking for the verses and then strumming for the choruses. Or it could be palm muting for the opening instrumental and then playing a full riff later in the song. For drums, it could look like simply playing the kick for timing at the start of a song, and then as the song progresses, moving into a proper beat. For vocalists, this can also include the usage of harmonies the second time we do a chorus. This is earned by singing the melody the original time. Next is structure, the deliberate ordering of sections. Nowadays, the single most common structure for a song is known as ABABCB, or more simply, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. This structure allows the verses and bridges to help make the chorus as impactful as it can be. But songs don't need to stick to the structure. In fact, straying away can often be a much more creative way of telling a story or playing a song. In my song Into All the World, I intentionally follow a different structure. I have a verse and a half instrumental, then a repeat of the verse, and it moves into the pre-chorus, chorus, and a full instrumental. But what was the reason for this? The first verse starts baking the cake, but instead of waiting until the chorus to eat it, I include the line "Send us," which serves as a self-contained payoff. This earns us an abridged instrumental.
Here we are, fishers of love, send us.
This is much more impactful than if the song started with an instrumental, because now it's a satisfying conclusion. Also, by doing this, the repeat of the verse is more impactful and serves as a payoff rather than simply a setup. Now, the interesting part is the second time, the verse doesn't include the line "send us." This is because it's not a conclusion, but a segue into the pre-chorus, which serves as development. Then we have the chorus, and we've baked the full cake, so now we've earned the full instrumental.
Of you our living hope, we'll take back what the enemy stole.
The B is for build-ups. So let's have a look at some examples of techniques that use build-ups and pauses. The first category we'll look at is the crescendo to peak. We see an example of this in King of Kings. The bridge section begins softly, but it slowly crescendos to a peak as it moves into the final chorus. This is the most renowned technique for emphasizing a section. But what people often miss is an earlier technique used in the song, which is our second category, crescendo to pause. There's a common misconception that when a song is moving into a designated soft section, the music needs to diminuendo for a smooth transition. With this song, that's the mistake I've seen from worship teams in New Zealand and the Philippines. And after the second chorus, we've played the instrumental softly because we know the bridge section is supposed to be played low. But what Hillsong does is different. They actually crescendo to the pause, and by doing this, they emphasize the softer vocal carriage section. And that's what I've seen teams miss. It's subtle, but it does have a big impact. The third category is a short pause. This is great for dramatic effect, and is a technique usually used for moving into a new section, like the chorus of Gave It All.
But knowing you gave it all for me.
Or returning to the chorus after the bridge and Come to the River. For songs like those, the pause is usually at the end of the fourth bar, and the music comes in on the one count. But songs can be a bit more creative, and utilize pauses in a more interesting way. Examining Into All the World again, you may notice the use of musical pauses in the verses.
Whom shall I sing? Here we are.
What sets this apart from the usual examples is that the pause is in the third bar, and the reason why is to mirror the lyrics. Lyrically, we have a question.
I hear you ask, whom shall I sing?
And we have an answer.
Here we are, fishers of men.
And so I represented this even split musically and used the pause to act as a bridge between the question and the answer. The fourth category is the extended pause. We see this in Prince of Peace.
Be still, my
And once again, the music mirrors the lyrics. Be still my heart, and the music is still. We feel like we're on the verge of something big the whole time, which makes it satisfying when the music collectively drops back in. The fifth category is the sequenced build-up. This is part of arrangement, except this is contained in one section instead of across a song. In the bridge for Raise a Hallelujah, we start soft,
Sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
but new instruments and more vocalists are added in, as if they're following the message, sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemy.
What makes this different from an ordinary crescendo is the parts are more refined and feel more complete. We see this in the bridge for He is Holy, which starts with mostly just the vocals,
Holy, holy is the
and then it moves into a drums only section,
people cry. Holy, holy,
and then it moves into all of the instruments being in.
people cry.
Each and every one of these techniques is used to make a certain section more impactful, and that's what dynamics is all about. And the C is for contrast and variations. This is a bit more complicated, but it's where we see familiar sections played uniquely compared to the previous times. This can include a breakdown section or musical cues. Hopefully these brief explanations can help you a bit with your understanding of dynamics in worship.